It's James Black here, and welcome to another CSE podcast in preparation for our summit on responsible investment. Today, we've got a great conversation lined up with Ryan Collins-Swartz, who is with Tapestry Capital, is one of the co-founders, and we're going to talk about community investment, community bonds, and their vision for purpose-built finance. So once again, Ryan, thank you for joining us today, and maybe just to get right into it, let us know about your organization, Tapestry Capital, and what you guys are up to.
Thanks for having me, James. Really appreciate you sharing your platform. Tapestry Community Capital is an organization that works nationally across Canada with a vision to transform how people invest and how companies and organizations raise capital. So our big question is, what would it look like if everyone made investments directly into their communities and also not just cared about financial return, but social, environmental returns alongside of that? So we support organizations to raise investment with community bonds, and we'll get more into it. It's a really innovative and high impact investment vehicle.
Yeah, I'm really interested to learn myself more about community bonds. Before we do that, though, let me ask you, what was your journey to start this organization? Were you in traditional finance before, or did you have some other experience in nonprofit work? I'm really curious as to how you got to the space.
I started my career in more traditional finance in the real estate sector, and then wanted to take those skills for good into the nonprofit world. Mm-hmm. And I was really struck when working with nonprofits, especially that were real estate based, how challenging financing was. And when I worked in the private sector in real estate, there were 1,000,001 ways to finance the development. But then you got into the nonprofit world, which is doing the most good, but has the least options when it comes to financing. You know, you can apply a grant, chase down a donor, but there weren't a lot of other options out there. And I was introduced to an incredible organization, the Toronto Renewable Energy Cooperative, that had been doing innovative finance for renewable energy with community investment. And they saw the potential to potentially expand this work into other areas like affordable housing, art spaces, education. The options are endless. So I joined Trek and was part of the co-founding team just over 8 years ago for Tapestry Community Capital.
Right. And so your team today, what's the composition of who's involved? How big is your organization? And sort of what's the general makeup of your team?
Our team is 20 staff members supported by a board of directors, ranging from everything from finance, compliance, investment management, all the way through to people who specialize more in research, community engagement, marketing. I'm really proud of the team that we've built, and we support organizations not just to think through the financial work of raising investment, but the community relationships and public awareness alongside of it.
Okay, now that's wonderful. And now let's just take a quick shift into what is a community bond. So maybe for the lay person who's watching this and hasn't had any familiarity with even bonds, what exactly is a community bond? How does it work, and how do you choose to deploy these?
Sure. A community bond is essentially a way that you as an individual or as an institutional investor can loan money directly to a company or organization that has a big project that's doing a lot of high impact work. In more traditional terms, it's an exempt market security. It's a fixed income investment vehicle, and all the terms are set by the bond issuer. So let's just say right now you can invest in the Kensington Market Community Land Trust in Toronto that's developing and acquiring affordable housing. You can invest a minimum of $500, earning up to about a 4% annual return a year. So when comparing it with something like a GIC or even more traditional bonds, it has a pretty competitive interest rate, but you know exactly where your money is going. It's with a tangible project in the community that's doing a lot of good alongside that financial return.
Right. And are the bonds variable term, or do they have fixed terms that you typically attach to these projects? What's that look like?
It's typically set with the issuer, and we usually see fixed returns, but we have seen variable bonds in the past. It's really dependent on the organization that's raising the money and the project that's tied to it. So an organization like Indwell in Hamilton, Ontario, that does deeply affordable supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness is much different than, let's say, Hughes Room Live, a music venue in the East End of Toronto. Those are going to have different returns, different financial makeups to them.
Okay. Now, for an investor, then where do they seek out these opportunities? Are they posted on your website, or is there some form of portal? Because you mentioned these are exempt market securities or exempt deals. So do you have to go through an EMD? Like, what's the pathway to entering into these market opportunities?
Absolutely. The first touch point with investing in a community bond is usually directly from the organization that's raising investment. If you can imagine, the organization typically wants to engage people in their own local communities. So they're often the ones out there in public, connecting with folks, sharing more information. And they'll have information on their own website about finding community bonds. And at the same time with Tapestry, we have a projects page on our website where you can browse available investment opportunities. We've also been really encouraged by the growth and interest from financial advisors and institutions and brokerages that are educating their own clients about community bonds. And it also happens the other way, where clients are often going to their brokers and advisors and saying, hey, I want to do more good with my investment. I don't want to be invested in pipelines or weapons of war. I want to do these local investments. Where can my money go? And then we often have organizations approaching Tapestry and our bond issuers.
That's an interesting point. So people are driving the demand for this product. It's not necessarily just a top-down altruistic thing, but actually people are looking at the investment opportunities in their own backyard and seeing an opportunity to grow their own wealth through contribution to their community. Are there any particular projects that you guys are most excited about or most proud about, or just want to raise awareness around through this discussion?
Absolutely. I'm overall most proud about our work that we just wrapped up with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, with the CMHC, around growing community bonds as a financing vehicle in affordable housing. Affordable housing is an issue really facing everyone in our country. And it's one of those problems like climate change that can feel almost too big to take on your own. And what can I meaningfully do to make some kind of impact or difference? And we've supported now over 20 organizations across the country to raise investment with community bonds for affordable housing. I know your conference is going to be in BC, so I'll highlight Propolis Cooperative, which is a brand new co-op based in Kamloops, BC. They've raised over $1.1 million in community bonds for their first development, which is 50 affordable net zero units. They've had investment from 101 investors. And that's also included investment from some other affordable housing firms, as well as community foundations, as well as a credit union, as well as an investment fund, Thrive Impact Fund. So a really incredible project and a way for an organization to get their first development off the ground. Because often if you don't have existing assets to leverage, it's difficult to walk into a bank and get a loan, even though you might have an experienced team, identify need within the market to do so. So very proud of Lindsay, Miles, and the whole team at Propolis.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And obviously you had that challenge of collateralizing and getting that ability to go even work with a bank. How do you even start the chicken and egg conversation there? Yeah, and thanks for mentioning the Summit on Responsible Investment. For anyone watching, this will be an event that we're hosting down the road from Kamloops in Kelowna on June 5th in person. And then obviously this is part of our Summit on Responsible Investment playlist here on CSE and available to watch on YouTube or anywhere else to get your social media content. Ryan, we talked about a lot of the opportunities and what you're proud about, but with social finance, what are some of the headwinds or some of the issues that our capital markets community need to help you with, or you need to address as you try to continue to deploy this capital, this much needed capital?
We'd like to see more participation from institutional investors. There's been a lot of increased interest in ESG, in particular, investors talking about a gap in finding the S in ESG, and community bonds and impact investments are a great way to do so. But we would like to see even greater participation. And an answer to that is a investment fund called Weave that Tapestry has incubated that will be launching later this year. And that is a way for us to aggregate community bond offerings to make them more accessible to institutional investors who want to invest directly within a single bond offering. The second, perhaps, is around some more regulatory acceptance and understanding around community bonds and these exempt market securities. We have seen a lot more flexible regulation when it comes to things like crypto, which you can say what you want. I'm sure you might have another podcast on that. But for something like impact investing in community bonds, where it's a very trust-based financial system, there aren't big returns that are being made, there's a high level of success. We have been working with different securities commissions to build more acceptance and more supportive frameworks around this work to reduce administration, to reduce burden, both on investors and community bond issuers. But that's something that we're making good headway on.
Yeah, which leads me to my next question around just measurables, right? So how do you measure success with these investments? I like the idea of a fund of funds where you can spread your risk across multiple projects and get that extra exposure. But at the project level, at the deployment level, you mentioned ESG and scoring. Like, how do you, as an investor, measure success on the, we know the financial side, you get the return, but on the social side, how do you know that you've really made an impact? Do you have certain metrics that you guys are trying to track through these investments?
Absolutely. We have metrics that we track for all the different industries and sectors that we work in, from renewable energy to arts and culture to affordable housing. So they vary based on that focus. The benefit of community bonds in this work is there's a local organization that can speak directly to their impact. It is a bottom-up financial tool. So we do partner with these bond issuers to work with them to develop their own impact metrics and reporting standards. It is much different where you do have a tangible project and real people and impact that organizations can speak to. So there are lots of quantitative metrics, but there are also lots of qualitative metrics, storytelling, stories of people who've been impacted by this work. And also investors are often very much included within the growth of these organizations, from having regular investor meetings to being invited to groundbreaking ceremonies, annual events, parties. You're really brought into the organization often through these investments.
Right. One of my last questions is just, you mentioned a lot about real estate. Are there other sectors or areas of investment that you think work for this type of model with the bond issuance?
Absolutely. There are countless sectors that we see a lot of potential and activity for community bonds, from real estate with affordable housing, arts and culture, education. There is a growing market of renewable energy and climate related projects. We've worked on everything from solar, wind, biogas to EV charging infrastructure, as well as energy retrofits. Perhaps some other high potential areas that don't have enough discussion would be things like employee ownership and business succession, which is a pretty big issue that's truly affecting our country, where there aren't enough avenues for employees to transition and take ownership from retiring business owners. So we are seeing community bonds come in to construct some innovative financing in those types of deals as well. But every day I'm amazed by the different people that we're approached by and the new and novel ways that community financing can be used.
That's amazing. So let's take a look ahead a bit to the rest of the year and beyond. What are some of the initiatives or projects that you guys are working on that you're excited about that you can share today?
Absolutely. We're continuing to scale up our work in affordable housing. So you'll see a lot more investment campaigns come live. We've worked previously in 3 provinces, BC, Ontario, and Quebec. And this next year, we'll be launching projects in 7 new provinces and territories. So if you're based in other parts of Turtle Island and you want to get involved and make investments, there'll be new projects popping up in your backyard. As I mentioned, we're also going to be launching Weave. It is a $30 million pooled fund of community bonds, which is available to institutional investors. You can go to weavefund.ca to learn more about that. And we're also launching an updated version of our investment platform that's going to make it a lot more intuitive and easier to find investment opportunities and manage your portfolio of impact investments, all in one place. So keep your eyes on Tapestry socials for that.
Yes. And for those watching today, where do you want to direct people who want to learn more or get involved with Tapestry Community Capital?
I would direct people to our website, tapestrycapital.ca, and take this as an invitation to learn more about the incredible organizations that we partner with, some of which located in your community. So go to tapestrycapital.ca/projects and learn about these incredible groups that are not only mobilizing financing, but mobilizing community support.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Ryan, for joining and sharing the story today. And we look forward to contributing to whatever success we can help with in the future. And again, for those watching, this was the CSE's podcast with Ryan Collins-Swartz talking about Tapestry Community Capital. And once again, we're at the on Responsible Investment, June 5th in Kelowna. And again, join us on the playlist here if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn. Lots of great content ahead and after this conference. Thanks so much, Ryan, and best of luck.
Thanks, James. Good luck with the summit.